The other ones maybe were all invented, we don't know. Maybe those bronze and marble ladies never even lived. Yeah?
Even
so we started to use the negative.
Yes, because we felt, because in the 19th, the Renaissance, in some way they're trying to make an artwork that looks like a color photograph for many, many years. And after, when they discovered photography, all the art started to look more like caricatures. If you look at Picasso, everybody, it's a caricature of an image, or abstract, one of the two things.
We think the artists panicked when the photograph arrived. They couldn't embrace it, so they went the other way. Yeah?
Felt threatened.
Yes. Yeah. And we think we've embraced that entirely and accepted that as a form and a meaning and a way of making our own language, really.
You used the word seduce to begin with. You said you wanted to seduce the viewer. Does that still apply? And did that apply in various series you did in the late 70s, the Dirty Words pictures, in the 90s, the Naked Shit pictures? Or were those provocations, confrontations?
I think we've always wanted to be, like everyone, we always wanted to be loved. We wanted to be accepted. And we always felt that we had opposition, not so much ever from the general public, but from the media. All of our pictures, we see them as visual love letters from us to the people. We never did an art that would be offensive to people. Quite the opposite, in fact.
But they have to attract what you call, they have to be confrontational, they have to attract. If they wouldn't attract confrontation, it would be boring and nobody would like, it wouldn't mean anything. It has to mean something, really. And they have to ask questions in front of it. That's very important. If they don't ask questions, they don't threaten us, we wouldn't do it. We want to be threatened by them, and we threaten them back in some way.
No, absolutely.
There are plenty of artworks that don't ask questions. We say, to put it very simply, a landscape on a canvas in a museum, people will walk past and look and nod, and it doesn't actually say something to the viewer, because nature is supposed to be made by God or someone, so there's no moral issue. But if there's a policeman on the horizon and a tramp in the foreground masturbating, then you have a picture to stop and look at. It's very simple. Something's
dilemma. That's it.
We forget the name of the artist, I'm afraid.
The other theme about your work, I mean, you mentioned those very early drawings that you did, which did have a kind of rural or organic feel to them. I mean, there was foliage, there were trees there, and this was in a sense quite rural. But ever since then, I mean, exclusively so, you've been urban artists at London, which I want to talk about in a minute. But I'm curious as to whether you could ever now conceive of returning to make work that was based around the countryside, or whether you could ever go and live and work in the countryside.
I mean, you mean like when we started out, we were still babies in the woods, That's it, because we came from the woods, But we ended up in the city, and after that, we never wanted to go back into the woods.
It took us a long time to become city artists, because at the beginning we didn't read newspapers or have a television. We were both brought up in the country, and we were expressing ourselves in the city, but expressing ourselves with nature, using parks and things. It wasn't really until the Dirty Words pictures that we completely realized that we were in the city and that was it, that was our future. And we always remember a few years later that we'd forgotten our dislike of the countryside, and we were lulled into a strange position, and then somebody invited us down to stay with them in the country in North Devon, and we went down on the train and we stayed at a little hotel and woke up in the morning, and it was so quiet we couldn't even sleep, so we got out of bed and walked up through the village, and we thought, it's extraordinary, maybe we've been wrong about the countryside. It's very, very beautiful, and it was so quiet you could hear insects. There was no traffic. It was set on an estuary, and all these extraordinary estuary birds swooping down. And we were very, very moved by the beauty of just the natural landscape. And we walked up through the village high street with very beautiful old buildings, and then we came to the parish church, the medieval parish church, with lovely flowers and the old graves, and we were enchanted by it all. And outside the parish church there was a beautiful young couple, a boy and a girl, with a baby in a pram, and we thought that just completes this extraordinary idyll. We were almost in tears at the beauty of it. And we turned and we said to them, "Good morning." And the young man turned and said, "Fuck off, you weird-looking cunts." Now we realized what we thought about the country. No, we realized that the city is a tolerant place. Something like that would never happen in the city.
But we do believe that maybe selling at the beginning spoiled us.
Selling.
Selling. Because when we did these beautiful drawings, we did these first drawings in 1970, and we showed them in Düsseldorf for the first time, and with Konrad Fischer Gallery, and we did walking, viewing, and relaxing. There were 3 drawings, and he asked us, how much should we sell these drawings? We didn't know, and we had no idea how much that should be, and we said, why not £1,000? No? And that was a lot of money at that time. No? And so next day we sold it. It was extraordinary. That's why we started to become the urban drunken series. And after that, we never looked back. We never back into the country again because we were more drunk than sober. No?
So hold the front page. Gilbert and George now have said that the art market corrupts.
Oh yes, it was quite good. But it was quite exciting because for the first time we were able to be what you call spoiled, no? And making art at the same time. We were so full of confidence in our new vision because of that, before even to sell an artwork. Can you imagine at that time that nobody was able to sell a piece of art? They were all teachers in some way, and we were able to do this crazy art like drinking pieces or dead boards, dusty corner, and actually make money to be able to live from it. And that for us was extraordinary.
So one of the things you were able to do is buy a house, and obviously you've told us very eloquently about why you don't want to go to the countryside, and you've remained in this house, in this street, Fournier Street. You've worked there for the last 40 years, and even in the Jack Freak pictures upstairs, where there are maps of London, it is the roads and the streets around Fournier Street. So it's not just London, or the city and London in particular, it's actually a very particular area of London that you live and work in. What is it about that area? Why has it continued to hold your interest, imagination, and inspire you?
It's very simply that we feel we're living in the center of the universe there. It's changing all the time. It's an extraordinary melting pot. People from all over the world walk up and down this very simple street called Brick Lane. You can go anywhere in the world, and within 10 minutes somebody's mentioned Brick Lane, whether it's on an aeroplane or in a hotel. No, we're absolutely enchanted by the neighborhood.
Yes, but not only that, because once we were able again to do with money to buy a house in 1973, and maybe for 5 years we restored our house, and that house became all the big sculpture in some way. And not only that, because all the floorboards became our art, all the ceilings became our art, all the street in front of our house became our art, all the trees became our art. So everything became this huge living sculpture. And we are still doing that. We never walk more than 100 meters to take images to be inspired.
We always said that if somebody came from a distant planet and said they have 5 minutes to film a typical planet Earth place, around Liverpool Street or Brick Lane would be ideal. You would know you were in the modern... Anything that happens in the world has already been around in our neighborhood. All the stickers threatened the world, and then the Twin Towers were blown up. It was all brewing there anyway.
And then that's why we became the mad monks of Fournier Street. And it's very interesting because then we tried to retreat totally to become more and more the solid sculpture. That's why we don't have friends, we don't go to art galleries, we don't go to concerts. We are becoming like what you call solid figures that are standing still there.
So the people are worried that we don't like it, that it's changed the neighborhood. It hasn't changed, it is changing, it continues to change. We've seen the synagogue turn into a mosque. We've seen the vicarage turn into a small art gallery. We've seen the church become an event center. We've seen the kosher wine shop become a Hindi music center. The Polish delicatessen is an adult clothing shop. Even the men's public lavatories on Whitechapel have become an Indian restaurant. Some younger friends were recommending it to us. They said it's delicious food and the service is very good, and it's eat in or take away. I said it always was. They're a bit slow this lot, aren't they?
So this whole area you have photographed, you've collected...
Taking images, we call it.
Sorry, taken images. You've collected images, signs, symbols, and then this becomes part of your palette.
Right.
And then there's this mystical process of how you make pictures. And I know that's changed with the computer, and again, let's come on to that in a minute. But everyone is curious as to how two people can make creative decisions continuously, seemingly without conflict. Do you still deny that there is ever conflict in your creative process?
Of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, we think, first of all, it's very important to say that we're very conscious every day of the battle of life, of the people who are being slaughtered all over the world as we speak. The rows, the arguments, the conflicts. We thought from a very early time as artists that we shouldn't join in that. We should be productive and forward-looking.
It's very simple, because we are always alone, so we get these urges all the time, no? Like we have the urges of the graffiti, we have the urges over the tramps in our street, no? Then we start to make pictures about that, and we see the black trees in our street. Then we started to see young people, no? Then we did a 1980 piece and all the time. Then we became furious with religion. Then we do the religious piece, and then we are doing what does it mean, a Union Jack on top of us, and we doing those kind of pieces all the time. The feeling, what surrounds us, that becomes the subjects, no? And we are able to explore that in an extraordinary way, like a human person that feels frustrating in some way inside yourself, no? And we want to let it all out and shoot it on the wall, graffitiing the rich people's houses.
So it's often an image or a symbol. Could be the Union Jack, it could be graffiti, in dirty words on walls, and that's the beginning of an idea. Or is it the emotion that you want to express? Because you always work in series, don't you? You always make groups of works.
It's not based on ideas. It's not based, like you said, there should be conflict, or people think we bounce ideas off each other. How we are at any one time is how the pictures will be.
Yes.
They're lifted directly out from inside of ourselves. We don't snatch ideas or images out of the air. Everyone knows how they feel today, what their life is like. If you say 1981, people know how they were in 1981. So they're lifted out from inside. We found a marvelous system.
Yet we don't want to be artistic. That's very important to us.
We never go to the
We
studio
wanted
with
to
ideas.
be real. That's what we wanted to be real. The inner feeling that's disturbed us. That's it. We never want to be artists. We never want to do a beautiful picture. We want to be liberating ourselves from the inner side, inside.
So this seems to imply that it's not a detached process that you're engaged with. It is a total immersion. It's an exhausting, draining process. Yes. Is that right?
Day and night. We never, for the last 43 years, we worked day and night. That's it. In one big, mad sculpture.
Ongoing.
Oh yes, non-stop. It is completely.
But do you have some notion of do you have some distant idea of? I think most human beings believe that perfection or perfectibility is impossible. But do you have some abstract? I know you don't believe in abstract, but maybe I'll use a different term. A dirty idea. Do you have an idea that somewhere you are aspiring to realise something you've never quite realised, or when you finish a series, do you feel no, we've realised what we want to realise?
Not even that, because we have 4 or 5 or maybe more lines of research going on, thoughts and feelings, nothing very definite. And when we have to make the pictures, when we stop to make pictures, whichever line is most advanced, that's the one we will take. But the other lines go on as well. Some of them vanish and some of them continue.
And we have many lines going on, because not only that, the whole sculpture is doing the invitation card, doing the poster, doing installation, doing the museum show, doing the private gallery show, doing the catalogs, the books. We are designing everything. So sometimes we do a new group of works, and we are totally frustrated because we think, we have to have museum shows. If not, nobody can see our work. So in the moment that we have all these museum shows like now going on, we feel, my God, we should be in the studio doing our new works. So it's all a crisis of.
It's interesting that the term Jack Freak is totally your invention, and yet it seems incredibly familiar. It feels like something that's been in the culture a long time. But I think Stella has said, and a number of others, that one of the interpretations of Jack Freak is the idea of the outsider. You said that when you left art school, you felt that you were outsiders. Do you still feel outsiders now?
In some way, we still feel outsiders. In another way, we feel that the world has changed so much, the Western world has changed so much since 1969, that it has somehow accommodated us.